Module 30109, Structural Ironworking 1. Objective 5, Performance Task 4. Make bolted connections on structural steel.
There are two types of bolts, general use and high strength. General use A-307 bolts are sometimes called soft, machine, or unfinished bolts. These bolts have a minimum tensile strength of 60 ksi and a maximum tensile strength of 100 ksi. High-strength bolts such as A-325 and A-490 bolts are heat-treated steel structural bolts with much higher tensile strengths. Snug tight condition is the tightness attained by either a few hits with an impact wrench or the full effort of a worker with an ordinary spud wrench. This brings the connected pieces into full contact. The ironworker uses a spud wrench to line up the holes by inserting the end of the wrench through each hole. He then places the bolts through the holes, puts the washer on the bolt, then threads the nut onto the bolt, making sure the markings are on the outside of the nut. The worker will now bring the connection to a snug tight condition by holding the bolt and tightening the bolt as tight as possible using an ordinary spud wrench. The turn of nut method is performed by rotating the nut or bolt of a fastener assembly a specific turn rotation based on the fastener's length and diameter while restraining the unturned element from rotating. The nut, bolt, and steel are marked and the proper amount of turn is determined by both diameter and length of the bolt being used. Here the worker marks the end of the bolt, nut, and steel member. He then determines the angle, holds the bolt, and turns the nut the correct angle. Turn of nut may only be performed after all steel piles in a connection have been drawn into firm contact, i.e. snug tightened. Failure to do so will result in inadequate bolt pretension and loose connections. DTI squirter washers allow you to complete a visual tension inspection in order to save time. When you tighten down on these washers, silicone squirts through channels when the correct tension has been achieved during installation. DTI squirter washers are offered for both A-325 and A-490 bolts and can be pretensioned for either. They are galvanized to prevent rust and corrosion. For structural applications, DTI washers are available in sizes 1/2 inch through 1.5 inches. They can be custom made to accommodate larger bolt sizes as well. Shear wrenches are commonly referred to as a tone wrench, tension control TC gun, or TC. They are specifically designed to be used with tension control twist-off bolts. When the nut reaches the proper tension, the shear wrench twists off the end of the tension bolt. A tension control bolt is a pre-assembled system consisting of one bolt, one nut, and one washer. Here the ironworker lines up the steel using an ordinary spud wrench. He then places the bolt through each hole, installs the washer, and threads the nut onto the bolt. Using the spud wrench, he brings the steel into a snug tight condition. The ironworker then uses a shear wrench so that when a proper tension is attained during installation, the wrench twists off the end of the bolt.